There lived a certain man in Russia long ago. He was big and strong, in his eyes a flaming glow. And, well, we all know how this story goes. Rasputin's mystic healing powers, his infiltration of the Russian royal family, his alleged way with women, and his infamous murder are taught in history classrooms throughout the world. Yet what isn't taught as much in our classrooms is the origins of this mad monk, his private life before meeting the Russian king and queen, and the legacy he left behind. And by legacy he left behind, I mean his children and their children, not that pickled thing supposedly in this jar. Let's be honest here. You don't earn the title Russia's greatest love machine without having a few children. Yet, what remains of those children? And are there any descendants of Gregory who still have the name Rasputin? So, first off, what about that name, Rasputin? Records from Rasputin's home village record the name originally as Rasputin in the 1600s, but by 1801, with the birth of Grigory's grandfather Yakov, we see the name recorded being spelt with an A instead of an O. Yet Grigory was also known as Grigory Efemovich, named after his father Efim, as the Rasputin name was considered a burden in the Russian capital. The name is thought to have come from one of two origins, a play on the Russian word Rasputinachat, which means debauched or dissipated, and given by his neighbours from his youth calling him Grigory the Drunk. But this idea kind of falls flat when you realise the Rasputin name existed before Grigory, or it comes from the Russian word Rasputisa, referring to the time in spring when the ice melts and the roads turn to mud, as it's common for Siberian surnames to come from nature. But who were his parents? And before we look into his own bloodline, perhaps he had siblings whose children could also live on today. Little is known of his parents. His father Efim Rasputin was reportedly your typical Siberian peasant. One villager claims Efim was known for his wisdom, yet a lot more villagers knew Efim for his love of strong vodka. Yet even less seems to be known of his mother, Anna. So what about siblings? Did Rasputin have any? Well, yes. Efim and Anna had 8 children: Evdokia, Gilkilia, Anjli, Grigory, Anjali, and twins Tikhon and Agripina. Unfortunately, however, all but Grigory passed away in childhood. Siblings dying seems to be a reoccurring thing with these videos. There is a rumoured 9th child, Theodosia, who supposedly survived to adulthood. She was a woman Rasputin had ties with, from being a witness at her wedding to being the godfather of her children, yet not enough evidence is out there to truly support this. So we've looked into Rasputin's youth, his siblings and his parents, but what about the family he had of his own? As a youth, he supposedly had a shady past, from drinking too much to stealing horses to leching on women. In his adolescence, he would grab the local girls in his village and kiss them, sometimes going straight for their buttons. While most times this would end quite rightly with a slap and a kick, some girls gave in to the danger and the enigma of this strange young man and his piercing eyes. Yet there was one girl who meant more to him. This was Praskavaya Dublovina. Grigory was of course a religious man, and the two met at a monastery they had both pilgrimed to separately. Unlike other women, she did not slap him or fall for him instantly. Instead, she refused to give in to his advances until they were married. 5 months of ruined Praskavaya and they were wed, just 3 weeks after Rasputin's 18th birthday. Of course, now we must tackle the subject of how many children did Rasputin have. On record, we have 7, and all of these were with his aforementioned wife, all conceived and born before Rasputin's rise to fame with the Romanov house. His wife stayed in their home village and remained loyal to Grigory until his death. Rasputin's way with women is legendary in its most literal sense, as in we don't know the fact from the fiction. Some even argue that he was in no way the love machine he had been described as, yet there could have very well been illegitimate children of Rasputin running around Russia. So for this video, we're going to solely focus on the 7 children with his wife that we know for sure are his. Michael, twins Georgi and Anna, Dmitri, Matryona, Varvara and Paskavaya. And unfortunately, it seems like history was doomed to repeat itself, as with what happened to Rasputin's siblings happened to his children too, as all but Dmitri, Matryona and Varvara died in childhood. And even when it comes to the 3 children who survived childhood, information seems to be scarce for Dmitri and Varvara, Grigory's eldest and youngest children. One report claims that after the death of his father, Dmitri, along with his wife, little girl and his mother, Grigory's wife, were exiled. His mother died on the way there and Dmitri himself died died of dysentery in 1933, 3 months after the death of his wife and daughter Lisa. Varvara, the youngest daughter of Rasputin, it seems died in 1925 of typhus. So what about Rasputin's middle daughter, Matryoshka? Well, she had the chance to live a longer, more fulfilling life than any of her siblings. She actually changed her first name to Maria, and in 1913 went to live with her father in St. Petersburg. She was her father's favourite and took much after him, from the love she received from Russian nobility to even having the same stern eyes of her father. After the death of her father, she was forced into marriage with Boris Soloviev, as he was a man her father was fond of and thought to be his heir as the mystic to the Russian monarchy. The two did not seem to like each other, with Maria writing in her diary that she did not understand why her father told her she had to love him. They had 2 children, Tatiana and Maria, with Maria being born outside of Russia as the family travelled the continent in the fallout of the Russian Revolution, with Boris dying of tuberculosis in 1926. In poverty, with 2 children to look after, Maria worked as a cabaret dancer, eventually landing a job as a lion tamer for circuses across the globe, as well as working with many other animals. They said her look was enough to stop any predator. After being attacked by a bear, however, that career came to an end. She took on different jobs after that and even wrote memoirs about her life and her father, eventually passing away in 1977 from a heart attack in California, where she's buried today. Before dying, she told her grandchildren that her father always told her to be generous, even in times when she was in need herself. This seems to have resonated most with her granddaughter Laurent Huot Soloviev, daughter of Maria's daughter Tatiana, who now lives in France and is reportedly the only living relative of Grigory Rasputin to visit Russia, which she did in 2005. Her life seems to revolve around unravelling the mystery of her great-grandfather. She told one newspaper that he is either demonized or deified, and my mission is to try and make his image look more human, more normal. And perhaps Lawrence's mission will be achieved. Perhaps one day we will live in a world that understands just who Grigory Rasputin was. But for now, we still live in a world where the myths, legends and enigma of the man seem to live on more than his truths. But as well as his enigma living on, we have at least one known great-grandchild of his. However, she does not bear the name that was made infamous by her great-grandfather. Oh, those Russians. Thank you to everyone who supports Name Explain on Patreon. Why not donate $2 a month and have your name appear at the end of the video and help us achieve our next Patreon goal of $200 a month.